won't let you down. I won't let you down, son.
Revolution. And welcome to Thursday morning coffee rant with Dan. I am the spiritual anarchist, Daniel Arnold. And today is March the 13th in the year of all of us, 2025. And what a synchronistic day today is in so many different ways. In the tarot, the number 13 is associated with the death card, and the death doesn't mean physical death in most cases. In this sense, it means the death of your old self and the rebirth of the new self. And we are in springtime, where new things are coming to life. You know, this week's been a very tumultuous week. I'd say the last couple of years have been very tumultuous years for me personally, but they are indeed for all of us, because we're all in this together, everything that's going on in the world as it goes nuts. Sometimes I don't want to just talk about world events. I want to zoom in a little bit, talk about other things that people will be able to identify with, most certainly, and they tie into the world events. They always do. Before I get started, I want to give a big thanks to Revolution.radio for having me, and I hope Willow doesn't think I'm bipolar. Thank you, Willow, if you're listening. I really almost did not do this show today, and I've said this several times because the audience is probably getting sick. Dude, he says this every week. It's been that tumultuous. It honestly has been. And for something going on in a legal case in my life, I wasn't going to speak on the radio. And then I said to myself, no. Now more than ever, I need to speak. Now more than ever, I need to forge ahead. So that is indeed what I intend to do, is to forge ahead. And thank you, Revolution.radio. And if you have extra, if any of the listeners have extra, this is the largest listener-supported radio platform in the world. And we can definitely use a little help. So if you have a little extra, give a little extra. Go to the donations tab and please give if you can. These are tough times, so it's not easy. But we're over 70 radio show hosts who are trying to bring you an alternative but really truthful look at what's going on. And it's always good to get other people's perspectives, because sometimes when we're sitting uh, within our own, I don't know else to put this. When we're sitting in our own shit, we don't always smell it. Someone else has to be the one to point something out to you, to point out your blind spots. And we have to sometimes also realize that not everybody we want to be good people are going to be good people, no matter how hard you want them to be. So yes, today it's the death card. We have a very synchronistic event happening today of the full moon, the full worm moon, the blood moon, and a full lunar eclipse that will start to begin on this day, on Thursday, and go into the 25th on the 14th. And that's synchronistic for other reasons, personally, that I'll probably divulge. Today, there's so many things I wanted to say. Hold on a second. Let me collect my thoughts, take a sip of my coffee. Wisdom isn't so much the presence of knowledge as it is the absence of bullshit. And the biggest bullshit is going to be the ways in which we bullshit ourselves. Sometimes the biggest lies are going to be the lies that we tell ourselves. And to that beautiful family speaking the truth on Love Mountain, Camp Lovolution, big shout out to all of you. Keep speaking it, brothers and sisters. And to you little guys, I'm trying to one head at a time get people's heads out of their rear ends. But when we lie to ourselves, sometimes we'll start to believe those lies. And I've seen this happen to other people. I've most certainly done it in the past. I'm not immune to anything human. But somewhere deep down inside, your subconscious knows you're lying. It's going to create, but it's going to create something in you, unless you are a narcissistic sociopath. And unfortunately, those are a lot of the times the people that lie to themselves a lot. And then they have no problem lying to others about all kinds of things. And what do you do when this is uncovered and it's somebody you care about? Connect with other people you care about, you know? You have to face those lies within yourself and tell yourself the truth first, which is things I've had to do. I've had to tell myself the truth first before I can then tell others that truth and do it comfortably. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Shame goes to die in safe places to speak. And we often associate shame with lies we tell ourselves. When I see people go into cognizant dissonance over the lies that they tell themselves, they don't realize the battles they're going to have later on. The sooner you face these things, whatever they may be, the sooner you can move beyond them. Once you can tell yourself the truth is when you will truly be able to love yourself. Once you can truly love yourself, you'll be able to love others and not look at them as things to be used. I know a person that comes across as very charming, loving, and caring, who is a bully to those he can physically bully, and he's a manipulator to those he can physically manipulate. This is somebody who I've personally read things that he has said to women. Very, very bad things that I would never say to a woman. We live in this society where, within these contradictions, like I spoke about, of the seven deadly sins and the contradiction involving the immorality of sex, yet we're all sexual creatures. We all are attracted to that. We don't propagate our species without that. There's all these contradicting beliefs behind that, and they want to control you with it. This person said to a woman, a man's worth does not diminish because of a high body count, but the higher body count a woman has diminishes her worth. This is the most effing ridiculous, toxic, shame-based assault that a narcissist will pull on somebody. It's complete BS. And that wasn't the worst thing that made me livid. This is a person that really needs some healing, but sometimes there's nothing you can do for these people until they want to heal themselves. There's so many directions I can go in with this. I could make this itself can be made into an entire show. And I often cover quite a few things in just a 1 hour period of time. It's just like a quick recap of a bunch of things. If it's something that you want to go further into, you can. Human connection is the most beautiful thing. And the things that are going on in the world now is to have disconnection. They want human doings, not human beings. They want robots. They set up a passive-aggressive society. One in which only people with special uniforms are allowed to use force. One in which both kids in school get suspended because there was a fight, not taking into account who started the fight. But I've got to say, all throughout human history, there's always been people. Yes, I'm about to say something that an anarchist doesn't normally say. Okay, and when I say anarchist to anyone listening, an is the prefix meaning without, archon means ruler. So all anarchist means, or anarchy, is without a ruler. It doesn't mean without rules. We follow the spiritual rules of God with a capital G, the natural laws of the universe that can be known. I'm going to get into that today, briefly. I think of the Knights Templar, and there's been other organizations that on the surface they served the Pope of Rome, the Church of Rome, the most powerful organization of their time. On the surface, that's what they were a service to. And many indeed who did that, that's what they thought they were doing, and many were murderers. But there were many within the organization that their main mission, that mission was just a cover-up to deal with the most powerful people in the world at that time. They had to deal within that system. Their main mission was to look for lost technologies. And they looked for ancient texts. They studied the Gnostic texts. They understood natural law, not the organized religions of the world pushing an agenda that have half-truths in them and contradictions. They did that. Within our very system right now, I am an ex-order follower. I am a former cop. And I wasn't a bad cop. I didn't write very many tickets. I most certainly wasn't a dirty cop. One of the saddest things I ever did in my life that to this day haunts me is having to hug a mother after we both had just watched her son die. That gave me PTSD for quite a while. That, and then I was on this murder scene, that double homicide scene that gave me some issues too. But nothing like hugging a mother who just watched her son die. I never want to feel that energy again. It was terrible. So there are people, yes, in the police business, especially on a local level, who do operate within a system, but they have a different code they operate under themselves. You are the ones that society is going to need. You are the ones that are going to step across the line and stand shoulder to shoulder with your brothers and sisters and cause others in your ranks to follow your lead. And with what's coming up in the world, we're going to need as many military and police to do that as possible. Ultimately, when we talk about natural law, the natural laws of the universe, the law of cause and effect, what goes around comes around, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. What Jesus taught, Gnostically speaking, was natural law. And his main teacher was a high priestess from Egypt named Mary Magdalene. So yes, I do often put women on a pedestal, and they're human. They're not all great and good. They can be very manipulative. Throughout history, being the weaker sex, sometimes their influence and their way of manipulating things to get what they need and want had to be done in a man's world. But make no mistake about it, guys. We have the physical capacity to use force, to move a higher amount of weight from one space to another. That's the only way we are stronger than women, and we need them greatly. We need the good women. And they are out there. The sacred masculine and the sacred feminine do exist. Now, I'm a conspiracy analyst. I don't like to hyphenate the word conspiracy or the word theory, but I do have a couple of propositions I'm going to propose that are just theories. I'm tough on politicians. I'm tough on anybody who I quote unquote use Peggy Hall-isms. She refers to them as public serpents. I like to connect the clots, as she says, or connect the dots. Don't get hope from this. Just understand it could exist. I've heard negative things be said about certain political people. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in the authority that human beings have to rule over other human beings. I believe when a person is bringing harm to others, good people should step in and be able to step in. I believe there's a better way of living than we do in our current system. One under higher consciousness, following natural law, the law of cause and effect. See, the laws of the universe, as I've heard Mark Passio say, aren't some secret. God made them known to us. They're knowable. We know about the law of magnetism, the law about thermodynamics, the law about gravity. Gravity is always in effect. All these laws of the universe are always in effect, but we just cannot see them. In fact, if you think about gravity, some planets have a certain gravity pull. My dog's in there dreaming. Hey, dude, what are you doing? Wake up. You're having a bad dream. It's okay. I was too last night. You're a good guy. So anyway, some planets have a stronger gravitational pull than others. Okay. What karmic law is, what natural law is, it is something that is inherent in creation. It's one of the laws of the universe that govern the dynamics of human consciousness and the actions and thoughts that we have. It has nuances. It also is completely neutral. Gravity doesn't care if you step off of a building. Gravity doesn't care if you get in an airplane and you fly up and defy it. It's just there. You can't see it. Like Wi-Fi, you can't see it, but it exists. Sometimes you can't see it, but the human spirit exists. Our thoughts have a resonance, a vibration, and sometimes thoughts will have a little ripple effect on your life because what you think is what you act, is what you become. What you think can draw a little bit of that karma to you, but your actions you take can draw a lot of that karma to you, good or bad. And if people understood this, they would always endeavor to take good actions to get good karma. That's the vibration you put out, that's what you get back. Like gravity, sometimes it's stronger reaction, sometimes it's not as strong. When you try to teach it in the most simple way to people and they can finally start to see it in their life, they understand it. And I've tried to teach this to people. I've tried to teach this to a certain bully narcissist that I was talking about. Unfortunately, some of us learn the hard way. I've done that before myself. I mean, honestly, I've been a rockhead in my life. And I do things the hard way sometimes. Also, remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the presence of fear, but still doing what you need to do anyway to protect others. So, to my order following friends, please know when the orders are moral or immoral. And I've seen some very good actions as of late from some local police who were doing something that was a true service. I mean, that's all I can say. The good guys need you and need more of you to be intelligent, as the ones I dealt with this week are. Because they're going to be the ones that will defy immoral orders, and that's the system we live in right now. And that's who I want to reach out to as a spiritual anarchist that just doesn't believe in human authority, really, to rule other human beings. I believe in the sacred right of self-defense. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Okay, so there's a lot. I mean, I had so many things I wanted to go over, but and I'm not sure where I was headed with all that, but all that information is objectively true. It will always be so. And right now, they're trying to obfuscate the truth. Lots of people do this. Narcissistic manipulators, those who prey on others, those who prey on the emotions or the feels of others, especially women, they do this for their own gain at the detriment of others, and they don't care about anyone else but themselves. I think everything we do should come from a space of care. It should come from a space of love. I don't get paid to do this radio show. I put my books out there for free. For right now, God with a capital G has blessed me. But I'm willing to lose everything for those I love. and for freedom. And they can't do what they want to do with a one world government if the United States is divided, and they're expertly doing it. But I want to talk about today, the main thing I wanted to get to, and I had somewhere else I was going with this. I apologize. I don't have enough. I have a lot going on in my life. I'll put it to you that way. With the disconnection that we have, with the distractions that we have, with the separation that they want between one human being and another, as many ways as possible on these 2D screens, I had something very synchronistic that's happened. And I'm not looking for sympathy when I say this, because I look at this differently than others, but I was crying a lot yesterday as I was sitting at the side of my mother's bed. As I'm doing this radio, she's dying. And she's still hanging on. I was born on May 14th. If she hangs on to after midnight tonight, it'll be May 14th. Or not May 14th, I'm sorry. It will be Friday the 14th. I was born on Friday the 14th, and if she hangs on to after midnight, it'll be Friday the 14th. That's how bad she is. We're talking hours. And I still wanted to do this radio show. Tonight's a blood moon. Tonight's a full lunar eclipse. It's a special night. If there isn't any greater omen in my life to completely un-F my life and help others. And my mom was a nurse who helped others. Then there's no other omens that'll ever get through to me. We have to look for these omens. As she was lying there and I watched her eyes, they were moving under her eyelids. She's probably still looking at her entire life. I could feel her respond. At one point, I seen her lips open up a little bit, as if she was being kissed. Even on our deathbeds, the most powerful connection is human connection. The order followers I dealt with this week, I could see really understood that. It's easy to take any group and put them in one box. I'm not going to ever do that. I was one of them. We're all human beings. We're all going to be in this fight together. It was interesting because I couldn't help but think when I died, and then when I nearly died, and I came back, and all I thought about was, the only thing that came to my mind was only love and discernment can drive out hate and fear. Discernment, it's a very important word. Because if you start to have true discernment, you're not going to lie to yourself. You won't allow yourself to go into cognitive dissonance, no matter what. And sometimes somebody has to hit rock bottom, even someone you love. In some kind of way, sometimes we ourselves have to hit rock bottom. I've been there multiple times. Who knows? I could be there again. I don't care. I'm better prepared for it this time. But the first thing we got to do is not lie to ourselves. So as I sat there looking at my mom, and I'll be going up there after the radio show today, I'm facing this poly crisis in my personal life. And I realized, well, the whole world is in poly crisis this year. I'm in good company with my fellow human beings who all have the spark of the divine within us. When we realize that we when we are a service to others, coming from a place of care and love, we're really serving ourselves and loving ourselves. It's a beautiful circle to stay in. It actually really is. But you have to know when to set boundaries and cut people off and understand even the person you want to be the best person in the world isn't being one. And there's nothing you can do about it till they're ready to change. Those 5 long forgotten words are the hardest words to say in any human language. I'm sorry, I was wrong. And as I sat there at my mom's bed, coming in and out of tears here and there, I just kept saying sorry, 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 sorry. Like, I'm sorry that she's dying. I'm sorry for anything I ever did that wasn't in your highest good. I'm sorry for taking the car that one time when you called me a little son of a bitch when you caught me. There's so many things. There's happy things, and those are what come to your mind. See, when you're on your deathbed, all you feel is love. And those happy things come to your mind over and over again. And the only regrets that come to your mind are the things you didn't do or you wish you wouldn't do, or the petty ego you had. And I have to admit this. My ego grew back. Or I should say that stubborn part of my ego grew back. And there is a dark side to that stubbornness, staying in negative patterns. There's a light side of that stubbornness, forging ahead and doing this radio show, even though I got these things going on. I don't want a pat on the back. If I wasn't talking on the radio, I'd be sitting here talking to myself, drinking my coffee, looking like a maniac. Might as well talk on the radio. If something I say helps even one person in this world, I'm continuing to serve in some capacity. But we always are going to regret what we didn't do. And this is the year of do. This is the year that we have to do things. This is the year you have to speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. My voice will shake. It's already shaken in the last couple of years, and it'll continue to do so. Every day is a gift. We have to live in the moment a lot more than what we currently do. We have to slow down and quit being human doings and start being human beings. There's a quote here: if you only see the good in people, you make yourself an easy target for manipulators. Wisdom is seeing both the light and shadow. Trusting your heart, but never ignoring the truth. To not lie to yourself, therefore lie to others. And that's what I see a lot of going on with some people. There's a lot of lies. I'm not talking about little lies. I'm talking about lies that bring harm to others. See, if you lie to yourself about something, that's fine if you're not actually harming others with those lies. But when those lies are creating things that harm others, you're breaking natural law. That karma will come back to you. To my order followers, police, military, the dark occultists that run this world manipulate things to get us to murder one another. And the actions that military and police take, the bulk of negative consequential effects of karma always come back to you. But for those of you serving within the system, like the Knights Templar, who are actually doing things within a system that's very hard to do them in, you don't go without recognition. I have a couple quotes about death. It is not death that man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live, by Marcus Aurelius. And you can only begin to live when you quit living in fear. 1,000 times we die in one life. We crumble, break, and tear apart until the layers of illusion are burned away, and all that is left is the truth of who and what we really are, by Teal Scott, aka, I believe, Teal Swan, if I'm not mistaken. See, the movie Avengers, there's an allegory to that when Thor is being burnt to hold open the forge. And then was reborn more powerful because of the truth. Lies that don't hurt no one are fine. Lies that don't hurt, lies to yourself, I should say, are fine. I lie to myself quite a bit and say, I'm Thor. I pretend to be Thor, my favorite superhero. But I don't want to ignore the thunder, because after the thunder comes the lightning. And I don't want to get hit by lightning. I want to be worthy enough to wield it. So when you see certain things in people, you have to begin to start to believe them. And you have to act accordingly. You just have to. So I have a list here. And this may have to go into 2 weeks. But I have a list of 5 ways to deal with liars and 5 ways to deal with narcissistic bullies. They're both usually the same, because the liars are narcissistic. And I think I'm gonna cherry pick these. Sometimes when I want to do a list like this, I like to challenge myself. I will briefly skim them, but I don't like to really study them. I want to read them, and I've lived enough life and have enough experience to give the advice right off the rip. And then I question myself. Am I actually living that advice, or am I lying to myself? And that's how I begin to tell myself the truth. And it is a beautiful thing, and you should always be self-reflective and introspective in that regard. And it will help you in your interpersonal communications. So 5 ways to deal with liars. Set firm boundaries, clearly communicate your limits, and stick to them. Narcissists often push boundaries. It is crucial to remain firm about what behaviors you will and won't tolerate. I've said this before. We teach people how to treat us. Okay? And they will run over you as much as they can over and over again until you do something about it. They will take your kindness for weakness. What we have to be careful to do is to not gunny bag. That is what John Bradshaw says. And he wrote a book called Healing the Toxic Shame That Binds Us. I highly recommend it. We take all these little things and we stick them in our bag. And the bag gets really full and it builds up. And then one little thing somebody does, we let that whole bag out on them. I've learned you have to deal with things right then and there, or within a day or two of something, because if you let it fester and build and don't get conclusion to it, then don't get closure to it, it's going to create a rift in you. It's going to create a interconflict, because your mind, your consciousness, your gut brain, your heart brain, they all tell you the same. They'll tell you different things actually, but you got one part of you telling yourself a lie about it, but you have this subconscious part of you that knows the truth about it. So we don't want to do that. We have to teach them what our boundaries are. My boundaries usually end when I start seeing somebody else being victimized. I myself will endure way more than I should. But I'm now have been learning in my life that, hey, if you really want to love others, you better set boundaries and love yourself. Otherwise, this internal conflict is going to create a self-loathing that's going to make you incapable of loving others in the right way. So setting firm boundaries and sticking by them and really meaning them and backing them up with something is what needs to be done, regardless of consequences. Okay. Number two, avoid engaging in arguments. They may twist the truth and deflect blame, making rational discussions frustrating. Instead of debating, which is what they always want to do, stay calm and focused on the facts. They're going to cherry pick any ancillary topic they can to be correct and right in something. They don't want discernment. These are people who have fake confidence and serious self esteem issues. They've done no shadow work. And if they're not stopped, they're going to stay on a snowball roll that's going to lead to self destruction eventually. But they're going to destroy a lot of people in their path. Picture a snowball rolling down the hill and getting bigger and bigger as it goes. It's going to hit a lot of things before it finally stops. So I don't engage in arguments or debates because that's nothing but a competition to be right about something. It's not a competition to be truthful or get to the truth or discernment, as I said earlier. Debates aren't about discernment. Debates are about winning something. There's a lot of educated politicians who can throw around $5 and $10 words, who are really good at winning debates, who are effing trash. Go ahead, win your debate. Okay, I almost did it again. I forget that I'm not on my podcast. I'm on the radio show. I promised I would be good. I'm not dropping F-bombs. Um, but anyways, yes, you should always be seeking discernment in any situation and not looking to debate to be right or wrong. Okay, the truth is never wrong. Pretending something is true is definitely wrong, which is what they try to do. They want to obfuscate the truth to get order followers to take immoral actions because the negative consequential effects, the brunt of it, the gravity is stronger to you for that. They want it. The gravity isn't quite as strong to them. They don't suffer the same way. This is why they want others to do the dirty work. And in that regard, narcissists will make loved ones in a form of what's called triangulation do the dirty work and protect them. They have to be confronted. Okay, also document interactions. If their lies could have consequences, keep records of conversations or agreements. This can help you protect yourself if conflicts escalate. I hate to say this, I got files on a lot of people. So some of the things that I learned in police work helped me. I have files on people that I just have kept for years and years. And if I'm dealing with a certain person who's doing certain things, I will have screen captures of their texts. I will maintain those. If I can get recordings, I will get those. I will document and make notes about things and date those notes. And it's not something that I do extensively. Okay, just to be clear, it's not something I do extensively. But you always want a CYA. You always want a CYA, which means cover your ass as much as you can. You can do all the right things and things can still go wrong. Okay, that is one of the natural laws of the universe too. Everything has its ebbs and flows. Everything has its rhythm. It is the law of rhythm. But if you understand natural law, you can mitigate the swing to the negative side of things a little bit easier. The next step is in this list, this first list, is the fourth thing on this list, is don't take it personally. Their behavior often stems from their own insecurities, yeah, that's what I was saying before, and need for control. Remind yourself that their lies are more about them than you. Later on, I'll tell some humorous stories about the ego and about some other things, but they're things I can't speak about now, and I hope I have a chance to speak about them. And I hope everything works out. But don't take their behavior personally. They have parental abandonment issues, which is why they usually want to be the one who's in control. They want to be the abandoner. These are the people that uh, try to maintain control of a relationship through ghosting, which is nothing more than psychological terrorism. They only can do that to people that care about them. And I'm telling you, when someone ghosts me, someone ghosts you, be Casper. Once they find out you want nothing to do with them, then they're going to want to know why. It's funny how that works. Their insecurities are going to make them act grandiose at times. These are people that lie to themselves, and they do have a lot of self-loathing. And that self-loathing will leak onto others. People who are upbeat and happy, you can feel it. And those people, when they're actually really hurt because they had to do something, you can feel that as well. God's blessed me with the people that have been in my life this past particular week. Special shout out to Psychic Sonia. Thank you for the light work you do. Number 5, limit exposure. If possible, reduce the time you spend with them. Prioritize your mental well-being and surround yourself with supportive, honest individuals. See, the problem with these people is they eventually, and when the mask comes off, they do become draining. And they only come around you when they need to use you as an emotional tampon. Know who these people are. Know who your true friends are. Your true friends are going to be there when no one else is. Everybody wants to be there for the party. Everybody wants to be there for the celebration. No one wants to be there for the work. This is why everyone loves whatever current champion is in boxing or in the UFC, but they lose, and within a year, they're forgotten about sometimes. Sometimes. But you got to limit your exposure to the type of people that use you just for that. Or if they're the type of people that are going to try to guilt you into, hey, we're friends, hey, we're family, but they're only around when they need something. If you see someone that's too self-absorbed, you start seeing certain things. I mean, I want to be clear here. Not every action any of us take, that I take, is some awesome altruistic action that's in this service to others. Don't let me, I can be very selfish at times. There's a balance to it, okay? I care about myself. So sometimes I am selfish to myself, for myself. There's balance in all this. That's just one way of putting it. The definition of selfish was you're only about yourself. You're not fishing for others. You're just selfish. If I'm with a group of people and I'm fishing, I'm going to make sure I catch enough fish for everybody. Maybe that's my job. Maybe it's something I feel I need to do because someone else is making me a sweater and somebody else gave me some hay. Those are just certain examples. And these people are selfish. And they're the people that are going to ultimately drain you. They're emotional vampires. And when they don't have their tentacles in you as a narcissist, when you pull that tentacle out and say, I don't give a shit, then they want to know why. And I've seen this not just in my own life, I watched it with others. Often when you go to something that's escalated and you have to go to the scene of something in as a cop, you're there at the worst time in these people's life. No one wants to call the police. Most certainly anarchists don't want to. But when you get them involved and you get the state involved, things change. They become more complicated. They become more serious. I'll give the analogy. If the family in one hut of a village can deal with their shit, you won't have all the families in all the other huts coming to have to deal with it. Maybe just the hut next door will help. So if you've got somebody like this in your life who's selfish, self-absorbed, limit your exposure to them. Control your exposure to them. Be thankful if they're a ghoster, which I am actually in many cases, most cases. Most people aren't like that. Most people don't do that. It's very immature. It's cowardly. It is a way to try to have some kind of control of you. Quite frankly, I think it's gay. Just in the and not in the, you know, in a different type of sense. It's just idiocy. Okay. To all my, you know, homosexual friends out there, that wasn't like any type of a slight to you, because many of you are really, really, really good people. I don't care what anyone does. Anyone does. Whatever consenting adults agree to do in anything that isn't initiating harm to somebody is great. Have at it. I don't care what it is. Moving on to the next list that I have is the 5 ways to deal with narcissistic bullies. I've only got a couple minutes left here. Minimize your time with them whenever possible, especially if they're draining your energy, which just goes after, I mean, that gets right into the last list. I don't even think I have to expand upon it. Number 2 is focus on your strengths. Focus on your strengths. Bullies and narcissists often attack vulnerabilities. Remind yourself of your worth and your accomplishments. Let me warn you of something. These bullies and narcissists will also butter you like bread, and they will attack what you're proud of and give you all kinds of love bombing on it. Be careful. Know how to graciously accept a compliment, but also understand that if it's a little bit too much, it could be just their personality, but it may not be they're just their personality. Okay, document incidents. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's funny how both these lists are pretty similar. Keep records of the bullying and inappropriate behavior, especially if it's in professional or legal situations. You have to document things. You're not going to remember. How many times on this radio show have I lost my train of thought because I didn't have something in front of me to read, something to go back to? I mean, that's a perfect example of it. Okay, am I being a hypocrite? Not really. I know I should be doing it. Okay, stand your ground. Be assertive but not aggressive. Let them know you won't tolerate unfair treatment without being confrontational. Sometimes direct confrontation is needed, folks. That's the only thing you're going to be able to do. But also, the last thing, know when to walk away. In some cases, the healthiest option is to leave the relationship, job, or situation. Don't stay in something that's sucking your life away. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I left the professions I was in. It literally sucked my life away. Use it. All right, till next week, man. Stay safe. Nothing but love.